My name is Genevieve Rentmeester.
Alan Hewitt.
Maria Mendez.
My name is Raphael Whalen.
Maria Diaz-Ravine.
I'm Mark Weston, and I'm a student here at JPCatholic.
How was adapting to college as a freshman?
Oh.
Adapting here as freshmen, this will be interesting because we come from three very different backgrounds and states. So.
Yep. I don't know, I think adapting here is like, I would say the first 3 weeks, there were 3 to 4 weeks here, you're jumping in the deep end. It's kind of like cold water.
I was really nervous because I'm really close with my family. But as soon as they left, I don't know, I got to know my roommates better and I already knew Maria, so we were already really close.
It can be daunting, but yeah, your housemates generally become like your closest friends.
I've obviously never had like roommates before, but I just like had really nice roommates from the start, and we did stick together. They're still like my closest friends.
That first week of orientation is great for like meeting everybody that's in the same, more or less the same boat that you're in, with obviously individual circumstances, but you're all mostly coming either from home or a different living situation to one where it's, there's no cafeteria here, so you gotta cook for yourself and you're living on your own.
And as for like the Latitude part of it, I thought it was cool to have my own apartment and have my own kitchen, so I was like excited about that right off the bat.
I was looking forward to coming here. And that's not to say that I wanted to be away from my family, not at all. I guess a sense of feeling like, yes, this is where I'm supposed to be, and just being so excited to meet the people and like to study what the school has to offer.
It was like fun and new, so I adapted super quickly.
How did you bond with your roommates?
My first year, I was rooming with an interesting cast of characters, and we didn't have a lot of the same interests. So sometimes you'll find that, and that's okay. You don't have to be absolute best friends with the people that you room with, but you kind of find where the common ground is and where your sensibilities are and where your differences are, and you adapt to that, and it works. And that's what me and my first roommates did.
I'm a transfer, so bonding method with I first bonded with my roommates. We ended up getting in some kind of long debate about a movie and like the premises of a movie, and that happened a couple times, and I was like, all right, these guys are pretty cool.
I think the dinners definitely helped. We had, at the time we were all sharing food, so we'd be making these family meals. And so we'd have those dinners throughout the week, at least maybe like 5 times or so.
Yeah, so my roommate was super extrovert, like almost like in your face kind of dude, very talkative and very social. He like forced me to go to all these events and stuff, and like my roommates were great. Yeah, just super nice guys, so I bonded with them pretty easily.
Yeah, like cooking together, organizing together, like decorating the space together. And also because there are a bunch of like freshman events, and at the beginning everyone kind of clings to their roommates during the first classes because everyone seems to have the same core classes, and you just don't know anyone. And you don't really sift out until maybe like a quarter or 2 in to the people that you're really gonna stick with. So just kind of like, okay, we're all going to Rosary, okay, we're all going to class, like something like that.
Yeah, a lot of the time the best way to bond is through like shared experiences, and that's why the school puts such a huge emphasis on like freshman orientation week, hosting events and activities for everyone to do together, because like that's how you get to know people really well, and that's just such a great way to have those bonding moments.
Yeah.
What are some activities you do together?
We talk a lot. I feel like we have a lot of very like deep conversations, or like we talk a lot about Disneyland. We're pretty obsessed with Disneyland.
When somebody sneezes, we say bless you.
True, it's true.
In and out trips.
Yeah.
Mall trips. Mall trips, we've done that, yeah.
We're at film school. Movie nights are huge.
Movie nights are a good time.
Yeah.
The beach. The beach.
The beach when we can.
Yeah. They've helped me on film sets too. Yeah.
Somehow, like I'll leave the house, and then like Alan will leave the house, and Mark will leave the house, and then like I'm thinking everyone's just going off on their own business, and then like 15 minutes later, I run into like all of the guys in like the hallway in like the academic building, and it's just like then you just end up like having a conversation with someone at the school, and it's all local, and I think having that element of community here and just like having the localization of the school, it allows for like a pretty easy bonding experience. So if I do go to the school, I kind of can have a conversation with Alan like in between classes, and it's really nice. So
how do you look out for each other?
So I have a car, and if I can, I'll offer them rides. So she has work. She's had work sometimes at like 7 in the morning, so she has to get there at like 6:50, and like I'll offer a ride
just to look out. You know, I drive you, so you're okay.
It's like, you know, if you like go and stay at like a friend's place, like next door for like the night, or like you go back home for the weekend or whatever, you just communicate with your mates and say, hey, listen guys, I'm not gonna be here.
Like, well, at the very beginning, like, we literally, like, sat down and had our schedule side by side. It's like, okay, we need to, like, stay in groups, because that was really when we didn't know anyone else. And, like, still to this day, I'll, like, ask, like, if I'm going to work or if I'm going to class, I'll see if I can find someone to walk with.
Do you prefer living in a townhome or in an apartment?
Definitely townhome. I like the layout of the townhomes because you have more separation. So I prefer the tiered layout as opposed to just the one floor.
There.
It just feels a little more intentional and organized to me.
Townhome. That was so quick, but yeah.
You don't have to awkwardly go into the other people's bedroom to do your laundry.
We felt more bad.
Bad.
That they had to, that they felt bad coming in and like doing the laundry.
I think, but it's just like it's so big and it feels like a house. And an apartment is like, it's great too because it's bigger than any dorm room you're ever gonna get.
Balcony.
Oh,
the balcony is
yeah.
really nice.
Super
We don't
nice.
have that view anymore.
Yeah, but I like the spaciousness of the townhome. I really like it.
Being in an apartment, especially as a freshman, and I'm talking to a handful of like the freshmen now, and they're all saying like, oh, you're so lucky you have a townhome, and I really cannot stress this enough to just like incoming students and whatnot. Being in an apartment is, first of all, it's really, really nice, right? It's nice having that open layout. It's nice having all of your friends like live on the same floor as you in case you ever need sugar when you're making cookies, and you can walk next door and knock on the door and say, hey, I need some sugar, right?
Yeah, I would agree with what Raph says in that freshman year, it's kind of nice to live in the apartment complex because there's a sense of community that's not quite here in the townhomes. But second and third, it's when you've kind of established your community and you're able to be more intentional about it, it is nice to kind of have your own autonomous space as well.
Do you really need a car?
There tends to be enough people with cars that just a few of the friends that you make will just happen to have them. You don't gotta hunt down someone and befriend them just because they have a car.
If you're coming to JPCatholic with a car, you will be loved.
Gas is expensive, so pitch in.
Yep.
They'll appreciate it.
California, baby.
For me, the only times it really becomes a problem, maybe just because I don't have to go to sets and things like that, but the only time it becomes a problem is when I have to go to the airport, which is usually only once or twice a quarter. So that's the only time it really becomes a problem for me, because everywhere else I can pretty much like either ask like one of my friends because it's not very often, or just walk there.
For most things, you will not need to have a car. You can get to Mass on campus, you can go grocery shopping. Campus isn't far away, so you can totally walk there.
Where do you park your car?
I park my car in the garage in the townhome.
If you're in the apartments, you'll have a space in the apartment parking garage,
Yeah.
and if you're in the townhome, you'll have a space in the garage that's built in on the bottom floor of your townhome.
Yeah, it's super convenient.
Do you share groceries?
Not really. We label things that we want to keep our own, and then things that aren't labeled are generally considered free for all.
Sometimes.
Like we tried it at first, but because everyone like people are from like slightly different cultures, so they buy slightly different things, and there might be some things that they eat faster than other people. So even though we started out all sharing groceries, we ended up just sort of splitting, but there's a couple things like desserts and stuff that we'll still
yeah, like we'll go on an ice cream run here and there and like just eat a tub of ice cream.
I know my first year, my roommates and I did try sharing groceries, and it works to a certain extent, but sometimes when you just have different living styles.
I would say things more like things that you buy in bulk, like spices and baking ingredients and whatnot.
If you want to share your milk, then just don't label it and people will drink it. So
That's the way it works.
If there's like maybe a movie night or something,
yeah,
and then
that's-
someone's like, oh, let's have popcorn, or hey, I have ice cream or whatever, then yeah, we share with that too sometimes. So
We generally cook individual meals for ourselves. Occasionally we'll be intentional about like, hey, I want to do a meal for the house on this night, and we're going to do a movie night.
Yep.
And it'll either be just like 5 of us, or we'll invite people over, and it's like, pitch in, make a dish, or we're all making one dish, help each other out. We've done that before too.
Where do you guys shop for food?
So ideally, Costco has pretty good deals, but that is a drive away. And like when you get busy with school, for me, because I'm the one who drives them to Costco, so it is like, I wish I could do it more often, but I'll just get, carried away with school and work. And so it'll just like, we'll all end up just going to Smart and Final.
Shop at Aldi. It's
Yes.
so much cheaper.
Yes, I was.
So much cheaper. It's difficult though because you have to drive. It's good. It has a lot. It doesn't have everything, but it has a lot. And like if you can't find some there's Smart and Final like a stone's throw away.
Yeah, if you don't have a car, there are definitely grocery stores in walking distance, which makes Smart and Final a really appealing choice because it has pretty much everything you're gonna need, and it's
convenient.
It's like a 2-minute walk from Townhomes, maybe 5 from the apartments.
What is the cooking situation like at your house?
Everyone like cooks their own meal for the most part. We had a roommate dinner where we it was mostly Genevieve who cooked it because she's the best cook in the house. So like she cooked most of it, but then everybody contributed a little something to it and we all like shared dinner that night.
It varies a lot because not everyone is buying groceries at the same time, and some people will cook in bulk for the week. So they'll cook once and then do nothing for at least a week.
The kitchens at Latitude are really big too, so you can keep people cooking at the same time.
Yeah, a lot of the time there'll be 3 of us in the kitchen cooking together.
One person's at the stove, okay, you're chopping vegetables on the counter, one person's in like the fridge area, you move over here. So it's just kind of that rotation and it works itself out.
It's like a dance.
We pretty much eat at different times, so it's not like we're fighting over the stove most of the time. And sometimes like someone will be cooking something, they'll be like, oh, are you hungry? Do you want to try this? So we just kind of like share little bits of food.
And I feel like even if there are, say, 2 people in the kitchen at the same time, I mean, we're pretty respectful of each other's space, so it's not like, get out of the kitchen, It's like, oh, excuse me, like, can I do this? Oh yeah, sure, go ahead,
What is the cleaning situation like?
I would say Alan is Alan is the cleanest of us all.
It's usually Alan that picks up the slack.
Genevieve, she was cleaning last night. I was on the couch watching a movie.
Some people feel the need to clean more than other people do. And so at least in our house, like I don't mind cleaning because I like it. So like at least last year, like every Saturday I'd have time and I'd do that. But other people would they'd clean up their own messes, or someone sees that the kitchen is dirty so they sweep it.
When it comes to common areas, I think, it's just kind of trying to take care of what you used personally. Like if it's your dishes, try and take care of that. And if like it was a space like the living room or the dining room or anything like that, just trying to clean that up for the next person that comes.
I think that stretches across all kind of living spaces too. It's like, if it's like a public living space, if it's the living room, it's the dining room, the kitchen or whatever, if you made a mess, clean it up, just be respectful of the other people around you.
Mm-hmm.
When you first get here, it's going to be difficult to kind of have those talks with your roommates about keeping their stuff tidy, but Alan and I are in our 3rd year now, so we've kind of mastered the craft of keeping everyone on top of keeping their stuff clean.
We have a system because if someone maybe doesn't clean as much, maybe there's something else that they take care of. Like they take out the trash more than they sweep or mop or something like that.
But I think our house for the most part looks pretty clean, so.
Yeah, I think it works.
I think we kind of operate on a common sense. Oh, it's dirty, okay. Pick it up. Pick it up.
How do you divide storage space?
Storage space, most of the time, you just kind of fill a cabinet with things that are yours, and that kind of becomes your space to the extent that it's able to kind of maintain just your stuff.
That's something we kind of just figured out, I want to say this last time moving in. What we kind of did is just divide up the shelves in the pantry. Okay, this is so-and-so's shelf, this is so-and-so's shelf. And then I think the fridge we're still kind of trying to figure out, but it's a similar setup.
How do you all divide up fridge space?
I think the fridge is more complicated for sure.
You come home with groceries and you have a lot of groceries, you find place for it in the fridge. The next person who comes home with groceries finds place for it in the fridge.
This is why
It's pretty accurate.
This is why it's important to label your things, because you'll lose them if you don't label
You'll
them.
find your butter in the back of the fridge.
We put milk and bigger things on the bigger part of the fridge. And then we have one of our roommates who doesn't buy a lot of food, so she just literally like chose us like one of the little, what do you call them?
The little shelves.
The little shelves on the
Yeah.
door, and that's like where she puts all of her food because that's where it fits.
Like you'll try to have your individual space, but a lot of times like items will
End up right there.
they'll all like gather together somehow.
If you buy food that's different enough and you're just gonna know whose it is, or you write your letter on it, then it's just, it can go anywhere. You know, as long as you trust your roommates not to eat it.
What are the benefits of living in this kind of housing model?
There's a lot of space, so you're able to like have space for yourself if you need. Like we have a garage and we have a downstairs room. So like if you need to escape from even like your housemates, you can.
Yeah.
So that's huge. Everyone needs alone time every once in a while, so it's, I don't know, that's a big plus.
If you were in a dorm and it's just like some beds in a small room and you had like a meal plan, like that's not what life is gonna be like when you leave college versus this. It's like, it could be just like this because the people across the way right there, they're not going to school, but they're living in the exact same, you know, housing unit. So it's like we're already part of the real world in a weird way. We're not just students in a little building made for students. It's like, it's made for residents as well. So it just makes me feel like I'm already like ahead of the game.
I think that also having like 3 different floors really segments your lifestyle. You have like your desk upstairs and then your bed upstairs, right? And so like that's where you sleep and that's where you work. And then like your living room is like your hangout space. So like you're not being lazy while you're trying to get work done. A lot of the time I found when I was living in the apartments, you have like one floor and like, oh yes, my bed is about 10 steps away from the kitchen. And so like, you know, I can go make dinner and then just fall asleep or whatever it may be. Having 3 different floors is really, really helpful.
How have you grown the most?
The area that I've grown the most in since I came is time management. I've had to learn that very quickly in order to survive, because if you don't have time management, you'll fail your classes.
Going in and out of the household, it's like you have a home base here, but at this home base is where you kind of plan all your operations, right? And so like in this living space, you kind of think, all right, this is how I have to plot out everything that I do during the day.
Maybe I've grown most in like adaptability, just because things change very much day to day, especially I feel like in this college setting, you have routine, you have your class schedule and some things that are set, but other things you have to set for yourself, like just your household, like priorities.
I've definitely gotten a little bit cleaner. I'm not perfect yet, but like she knows I feel so bad. I do have a very chaotic schedule with like class and work, so it's a lot, and like I have to run and sleep. Yes. And so there would be mornings that I didn't make my bed and I feel so bad, but I have definitely changed that habit and I have made it every day this quarter, so I'm really proud of myself.
I think living on your own, but in an apartment, in a townhome, it kind of gives you a deeper sense of responsibility in becoming an adult. And it clicked with me, like, I think it was a few quarters ago. I was like, oh my goodness, wait, this is my house. Like, I've got to take care of it as if it was just my house and, you know, I'm the only person living here.
The independence, like along with the responsibility, is really nice. And the fact that you're sort of like doing that for the first time alongside like other people. So it's not just like I'm on my own, all of this stuff is mine. I'm just sort of like in a little bubble. It's like you're learning to grow alongside other people and be independent with other people.
Moving into the rapid fire round. Who is the best cook? Who's the cleanest? Who sleeps in the latest?
Well, that,
I don't know.
that's
a tough one.
Well,
You picked
okay.
the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
We all wake
It's
up
like
super early.
Yeah.
We all wake up at like 7 a.m.
Yeah.
every morning.
Are you up before me?
I think we're both up before you.
We go to work.
Who is the social butterfly?
I don't.
No, you're not.
What?
Who is the mom of the house?
Wait, but aren't you supposed to be the dad?
I'm kind of the mom and the dad.
Who likes to go out?
Everyone.
Yeah.
With each other?
Who likes to stay at home?
If it's
What if it's the mall?
Do you have any closing thoughts?
Utilize spiritual direction.
Yeah.
Everyone
The
goes
chapel.
crazy. Everyone goes crazy. Talk to a priest.
And that's all. Thank you guys for joining us.
Hey guys, welcome to Townhome 485. My name's Nicholas and I'll be giving you a quick tour of the living space in here, so come on in.